guys, thank you for calling. I heard that you had some questions for me, so let's get into it.
I can tell by the way you in love with me. You can't get enough of me, yeah.
So guys, I literally was like to myself, I want to be here to answer some questions. So I literally went straight to my Instagram and I asked you guys to ask me some questions because I wanted to get a Q&A out as soon as possible. So you guys actually came through, I can't lie, with the questions. They're actually really giving. I'm so happy that you guys were this engaged and asked me lots of questions. So if you don't know already, I am currently working in real estate and I've been sharing my journey on TikTok mainly. So I started real estate at 17. I've been working, I've been studying and doing a degree level apprenticeship, which is so niche and many people just don't really understand it and always have questions about it. So I was like, perfect, let's do a Q&A. So let's just get into it. So I kind of wanted to make it a bit relaxed, FaceTime-y vibe. So let me go get my bottle of water and we'll be back. So your girl's got her water and I'm at the bottom of the questions now and I'm going to start asking some of your questions. But first, let me take a sip so I'm hydrated. Okay, right, let's get into it. So one of the questions was, do you feel lonely at times? I'm guessing the reason why you asked that is maybe because I'm an apprentice and I'm not doing university. So I would definitely say I'm so happy and over the moon that I decided to choose a degree apprenticeship route rather than going to uni. But I honestly feel like I haven't found it lonely at all. If anything, I do feel very sociable. I feel like every weekend I'm busy doing something. Like October was so busy for me. Oh my gosh, I've literally been out every single weekend in October. One thing that's so great is that as an apprentice, I actually have other apprentices that started the program with me at the same time. So it's like we're kind of growing through the program together. We're working in different teams, but we're still there for each other. We have group chat on like Snapchat. So whenever we're all in the office, people will tell each other like who's in. And I think one thing we need to do more though as apprentices is just organize socials. But there's like a lot of apprentice networks out there. Like I generally don't feel lonely at times. And even though I'm doing an apprenticeship, I still see my uni friends. I'm still close to my friends that I went to school with and are in uni. Like I still go in, they meet me in London. I'm meant to see my friend actually, two of my friends this month. We're going to do something together. I'm going to celebrate my friend's birthday next month. So it's like, there's no way that I've just like completely been like, no, I'm not visiting you. I'm not going to meet you. So it's good. I think what's important is to still build those friendships. And if anything, doing the apprenticeship has helped me like have opportunities to meet so many new people where I have no excuse to be lonely. It's like if I'm lonely, it's like I'm doing it to myself because my role is so people orientated. So it's like I have to put myself out there. And I feel like I've really done a really good job at putting myself out there. So I don't feel lonely. No. But that was a good question. Now we're going to go on to the next question, which is, how many people do they accept every year and is it hard to get in? So doing a degree level apprenticeship, you would be working with a firm who are a real estate consultancy. Usually with the bigger firms, like the one I'm with, for an example, they are a global leading firm and similar competitors to them as well. Like for example, you've got CBRE, Savills, JLL. Those type of companies, the competition would definitely be high. Like I can't speak for every company, but I guess on average you could say maybe an intake of 8 apprentices within London, and then obviously they would have intake of more apprentices in other regions as well. But in my cohort for my year, I think there was like, in London, I think there was like 8 of us in London or 12 of us in London, and then the rest were scattered in other regions. So imagine that conversion rate, but thousands of people applying, like 1,000, 2,000 people applying. It is a very small conversion rate when you think about it. So it is definitely competitive and the acceptance rates are not as high. That's mainly for apprentices and most firms tend to accept more graduates rather than apprentices. And most of the time apprentices tend to come straight out of A-levels, but you can still be an apprentice if you maybe left A-levels 3 years ago and have been doing a gap year or something. But that was a good question. Now, next question is, what types of real estate are there in terms of roles and could you explain them? That is a good question. So a lot of the time, people tend to think real estate is just about buying and selling houses, but that's not the case. There's so much more to real estate. If I was to talk about the different types of real estate, you have not just got residential, you've got commercial real estate. And if you're speaking commercial, that can be office spaces, retail. Any type of asset that is used for a business purpose is what a commercial real estate asset is. And then you've got industrial, which can be like warehouses, factories, and you can also have mixed use developments which combine two different types of real estate uses together. So say if you maybe had an apartment building and then there's retail at the bottom, or like a used class E. Used class E tends to be like shops and stuff. So there's so many different types of real estate rather than just residential. And to add to your question on in terms of roles, so I'm working towards becoming a chartered surveyor, which is RICS accredited degree that I'm working towards. So I'll become qualified in the residential pathway, but you can also become things like a building surveyor. So building surveyors are people that tend to inspect buildings and properties and manage to detect any faults with it. You could have a valuation surveyor, so they are specialized in being able to determine the value of real estate assets. And you've got quantity surveyors, so they deal with the construction project costs, so they manage all costs relating to a development. So there's so many different things you can do in real estate. It's definitely worth researching a few of those. To help you guys, look at the link in the description under the word RICS, because I'm going to include a link there below to tell you a bit about the different types of surveyors if you want to look into that a bit more. Lovely. So next question is, what is the hardest thing about real estate? The hardest thing, girl, that is a good question. The hardest thing about real estate, I say when I first started, I was like, I want to be a networking machine. I want to get my name out there. I want to meet people. I want to be as confident as I can. I guess that can be a very hard thing for someone that's super introverted. I would say, like, when I was younger, I wasn't the most confident person. It's something that's genuinely built over time, and like my mindset has shifted. But I'd say that could probably be a challenge that people might not find easy when they join, like having to be very sociable, because the industry genuinely is a sociable industry, and you always go further if you manage to work your network very well. One of the hardest things I could say is probably going to be one of those things. Something related to that. And I guess one thing as well is starting in the industry so young, it's like I would feel like, oh my gosh, what value can I actually bring to this team? But then I'm deep and I'm like, girl, you better realize you are bringing some value to the industry. Like, I'm not just a general apprentice. Like, there's so much that I can bring to the teams. So I try not to be too hard on myself. And I feel like by me not being too hard on myself, thinking that I'm not worth anything, has helped me really shine. It's like I've posted videos that have generated inquiries, and it's impressed my team, like directors and stuff. So I think you just have to put yourself out there. You need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you want to get into the world of real estate, start learning to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And by that, I mean put yourself in certain environments where you can get to network with people and just stop being in your comfort zone, because you can never grow if you stay in your comfort zone. Do you not realize that whenever you're nervous and fearful of something, it's because you're about to do something that you're not used to. You're about to do something that your mind is going to genuinely feel like, oh, I don't feel safe here. But if anything, you're going to grow when you push yourself into those type of spaces. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Next one. Oh, guys, you got a lot of questions. Let's keep it going. So next question I got is, as a girl in real estate, would you prioritize a man in your early 20s? That is a good question. That's a spicy question. I honestly think in your early 20s, it's the time to start building yourself. I feel like in your early 20s, it's time to start building those connections. Depending on your goals, I feel like you have to prioritize what you want. I feel like when you enter your 20s, it's a time for you to navigate yourself. Where do you want to go? What direction do you want to go forward with? And it's all about kind of chasing your purpose, because I feel like 20s is like finding yourself again. Like when I was like 18, I felt like I found myself, but then it's like I'm kind of building my frontal lobe early, and I'm just like so grounded, and I'm like, I know what I want and I'm gonna go for it. I even been feeling like I've been in a bit of a funk recently, like not as productive as I could be, but then I was like, it's time for me to stand on business. Girl, I honestly think that you should be your priority in your early 20s. I'm not saying do not go into a relationship or anything like that. Definitely date around, you know, get to know what your standards are, don't settle or anything like that. I myself, I'm already like gone, I'm not on the market. I still feel like even if you're in a relationship, you still should prioritize yourself, most certainly. Why should you prioritize a man over your goals and ambitions? Because if that man is leaving you tomorrow, like, come on now, the 20s is time to be building. So I don't mind being at home, and I'll be chilling, cooking, getting things ready at home and stuff. But for my early 20s, it's not really the time for that right now. Like, it's time for me to be building. Now things have actually changed where men's mindsets are changing, first of all. So they feel like they shouldn't be providers. So that's even the challenge itself. And then obviously we've got more women who are like more CEOs, more women who have got businesses. You've got so many female content creators who get in their bag, making their money. So it's like, if they had the mindset of, oh no, I must prioritize a man over this, they wouldn't get all these successes they've had. They wouldn't have had the opportunities that they've got in life. I think definitely chase your goals, first of all. If there's a man in the picture, I'm not saying ditch him. Still enjoy exploring love and dating and everything, because in return it's going to help you generally just enjoy life. But don't settle. Do not prioritize that over your purpose. But good question. I liked it. Okay. Next question is real estate commission based, or do you get paid by your firm or company? So as a degree apprentice, we don't get commission. We get paid a salary. So it's not commission based. But obviously if we then graduate, because our course is 4.5 years long as a degree apprentice in property, degree is 4.5 years long, the whole program. When you do graduate, then you will obviously be able to get commission depending on if your role is commission based, if you were selling or in an agency style role. Sometimes some roles are not commission based, but yeah, we get a salary. Next question is how do you afford rent and live in London, because it can be expensive for foreigners. Girl, I absolutely understand. It is not cheap to be renting in London, let alone trying to buy in London. Have you heard this stuff that's going on with the budget as well? It's just crazy. Affording living in London, I honestly suggest, if you have family in London, go and find out if they have a spare room. Do you have any cousins that are also living and working in London? Do they want to find a property together, an apartment together, and then you go and split the bills, you split the rent? Or if you have someone that's older than you and they're paying more rent than you and you pay less, those type of things help. Use the people that you have around you. That's my best advice, really. Like, use the people you have around you. Try and bring people together to try and help you cut the cost, because it's not easy. People that try to tell you it's easy, they're lying. It's not easy. And then also, I just like tend to be having a good budget in place as well. How to get work experience for being an estate agent. My top tips is definitely to I worked at an estate agent when I was in sixth form. As I was doing my last year of sixth form, I decided to work in an estate agent and worked as a sales weekend negotiator. And that experience in itself was awesome, because I managed to actually learn the foundations of real estate. I was doing floor plans and lots of different things, viewings, inspections. So the best way to get work experience in an estate agent office is, before you go, I actually gave this advice to one of my mentees recently, so I'm giving you guys a bit of an insider tip, is if you're going to an estate agent to ask them for work experience, you want to stand out. So one way you're going to stand out is by doing some research into the properties they're dealing with, learn a bit about those key streets that they have properties listed on, and start gaining your knowledge on what's going on in the area. Be an expert in your local area. Why not get to know your patch? So start learning a bit about your local area, get to know the streets, and then you can go to the estate agents and let them know that you have an understanding of the key areas or the key streets in the area. So they wouldn't then have to think, oh wow, you got someone else to train. Like, at least you have put yourself out there to get your own initiative up and start learning. So That's a good tip that I would give. Does your company offer permanent placement after your apprenticeship? So yes. So L2 Holly, thank you for your question. So yes, my company does offer permanent position. So after I finish my apprenticeship, I'm guaranteed to stay with them, basically. Like I stay with them maybe for another 2 years, and then I can continue for longer. So yes, which is really great. Does your salary increase over time while still being an apprentice for your company? Yes. So your salary would increase, which is really great because every single year your salary would increase, so you're not staying at a standard rate for a whole 4.5 years. Guys, 4.5 years to be on the same salary is long. So yes, it increases every year. And when being an apprentice, do you have your own apartments or stay at uni accommodation? Girl, I wish. I wish that I could stay in a uni accommodation and my apprenticeship paid for that. But no, we find our own accommodation. We find our own way to commute into work, or if you want to find somewhere that's very central, it's all down to you really. And like I did say again, I suggest finding people who can help you out with that, so family, friends and everything. Someone said, my dad does odd jobs working for people and fixing properties. Good place to start? Of course, if you have that connection there and your dad literally does things with relating to property, definitely start helping him out. Start working with him and see if you pick up anything. See if what he does specifically is something that interests you over going to uni or doing an apprenticeship, and go for it, because you'll learn bits about the construction process, and I think that would be super cool. Definitely, go for it. Why not? I'd never say no to that. What's it like working whilst learning? Thank you so much for that question. So, what's it like working whilst learning? I feel like I get the best of both worlds by working and learning, because essentially I'm working towards my degree, so I'll get a qualification and I'm working. So within my role, I've had lots of client exposure. I've worked with like multi-million-pound properties. I'm now in a team that deal with ultra high net worth individuals. So I feel like working, I'm so glad I'm working, because I could not go to uni. Girl, I'm telling you now, I could not go to uni and just sit in a classroom and that's it. No way. So I already knew this was for me, which is why I applied for it. And it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. Whoever told you it's easy, it's not easy. The balance that you have to be able to do takes some discipline and time management for sure, because you're then studying a degree. You want to make sure you're finishing your assignments on time. You want to make sure you're going to work and performing your best. So it's not easy, but I would say it is definitely worth it. You just have to have good timing skills, organizational skills, and you have to have that drive to actually get up every morning, because I do 9 to 5. I'm literally doing a 9 to 5. I work Monday to like Thursday, for example, and then I'd have my study day on the last working day of the week. So it's like, and then my weekend, but it's like on the study day, because I do online uni, I have to make sure I'm actually studying on my study day. So it's like, it's so much about accountability, like being accountable for yourself, because if you're not accountable for yourself, who's going to save you? No one. Nobody's going to save you. So yeah. Right, next question is, did you pass the exam first go? Did you take a real estate course? If so, for how long? No, I didn't have to pay for a course. I'm doing a degree level apprenticeship, so my employer pays for my degree, and I don't have no student loan, no student debt. I'm basically doing a degree whilst working. So the whole reason and whole purpose of doing a degree apprenticeship is the fact that you are getting work experience which matches what you're studying, and you get paid. And instead of you having student debt and only learning the theory, you can apply the working world to the theory world. Then I got asked, do I need A-levels to get in a degree apprenticeship for real estate? If so, what subjects? So yes, you do need A-levels to get a degree apprenticeship in real estate. And specifically, there's not always specific A-levels they require, as long as you meet the minimum grade requirements, which is usually 3 Cs. And if you get those 3 Cs, then woo, good for you, because I got A-star BB and I did not expect to get A-star BB. Guys, I literally cried when I opened up my envelope, because I did not expect to get those grades, but I got it, especially because I was actually in the year that didn't do our GCSEs. I went straight into A-levels, basically. We got mock we got our results kind of based on our mocks for GCSEs. So it was not easy to go into those exams again. Like, you had COVID, and all of a sudden I have to do my A-levels. Sorry, and I managed to still smash it out the park. Yes. So you don't need specific A-levels. I did business studies, health and social care, and media, but I will also suggest some subjects which will be easier to apply to your applications for real estate apprenticeships. I would definitely say consider business studies, maths, economics, geography. Geography is such a good subject to then relate to the world of real estate, but business studies is great because in my applications, I managed to link business studies very well, I would say. Someone asked me, how many people do you visit every week? So, how many people do I visit every week? When you say that, I'm guessing you mean viewings. So it depends on the team you're in. So not every team does viewings, honestly. Like I said before, real estate is such a different type of world. Like, you could be in a more agency-based role, which is the kind of stereotypical role everyone thinks of in real estate, where you do viewings. Or you could be in a role which is more desk heavy, so you're dealing with Excels, you're dealing with advising clients, dealing with speaking to banks and different things like private equity, you're dealing with hedge funds. So it's like, depending on your trade, will depend on how much interaction you get with clients. With me, I did work in sales and I did a bit of build to rent leasing for developers, like top developer in across London. I was going to different locations every week. Every week I was in a different location. I was basically leading 3 different sites, representing my company, and I would go there and do viewings. So I'd say maybe per week on average, how many people I do viewings with. That's a good question. I'd probably say I have 10 viewings minimum. Even that is very small. That's just a smaller number. So I tend to maybe aim for at least 3 viewings a day. So for me, who's doing a 4-day work week, minimum 12. So at minimum, have 12 people I do viewings with per week. Also, when you start to work with more prime properties, because I did sales in a prime development, the viewing numbers obviously will not be as much and as busy as it would be in the rental market. So yeah, there was a time when I had like 24 viewings one week. It just was so busy, so it just changes all the time. I dropped out of college. How can I get into property? Honestly, there's so many different ways that you can get into property. You can work in an estate agent, you can do an internship, you can do for experience, you can do an apprenticeship like me. You could even start your own business. You can get into Airbnb, you can get into deal sourcing. There's so many things and opportunities now to hop on with the property wave that there's just so many different things that you can consider. Personally, if I was you, I'd start going to networking events and getting to know people. That's definitely a big thing nowadays, who you know, your network and your net worth. Someone said, what would you say is the ultimate best thing about choosing an apprenticeship? My favorite thing I would say about doing an apprenticeship is the way that I've literally had so much client exposure. I've been able to build my brand, because even my content, like if I was not doing my apprenticeship, I would not make the content that I make. I'm doing something I love, which is what I love about it, because I feel like you have to pursue a career that you love, because if you end up doing a career that you don't actually want to do and you're just doing it because someone else is doing it, it's not going to be fulfilling for you. You're not going to be able to perform how you want to perform or how someone else is performing. You need to make sure you actually are excited to do it. It's something that you're passionate about. Because a lot of the questions I get is like, how do you stay motivated to go to work and things like that? But it's like, I chose this for myself. Like, you're not going to enjoy something that you didn't choose for yourself. So choose a career that gets you excited to get up in the morning. Obviously, I'm not saying it's all happy days every day, but you do get burnout sometimes as an apprentice, because you're going to be studying. You're like, oh my gosh, I've got an assignment coming up. I got an assignment coming up, and then you've got to get up in the morning. Like, you've got to do this, that, and you've got personal life as well. Like, it's not easy, but that's one thing I love about it. And also the fact that I like to travel, I like to do things. So obviously the fact that I'm getting paid a salary rather than just working in uni full time is good, because then I can use my money wisely. I can save, I can budget. I've been saving very wisely actually. So it's like, yeah, just saving for goals, going traveling. Like, I've gone on holiday like 5 times this year. This is the most I've ever traveled, guys. I've traveled to, like, I went to Milan, I went to Portugal. I went to Portugal because went to Milan, and I went to Portugal because I got invited by an investor, a property guy that I know who owns an estate agency across Portugal, and he deals with properties worldwide as well. But he mainly specialized in Portugal. Now he's in Spain, so it's like I went there to meet his agents, and I stayed at his villa, and it was just so good. It was such an amazing time. I also went to Gran Canaria, and I went to France, and I went to Marbella for my birthday. So I've been traveling 5 times. Marbella was a birthday treat, though. It was a birthday treat. But yeah, traveled 5 times this year, and that's quite a lot, I can't lie. It's pushing it, but it's been nice. I got a question on tips for business generation. I don't know what they mean by that. Can't book an MA to save my life. I think he's talking about book and marketing assistant. Tips for business generation. If he's talking about generating inquiries, I think he means like, how do I have a tip for generating inquiries? Technically with the apprenticeship process, like, you don't have to generate your own inquiries, but I decided to take my own initiative and use social media to my strength because I've built a platform. So I like made videos on the developments I worked at, and I managed to generate inquiries from it. Like a video I posted recently, actually, it's on like 25,000 views for a tour of a development that I worked at a lot, and I loved it. 2-bed 2 bath flat, and I managed to get 8 inquiries within 24 hours from it. So social media is where it's at, honestly. I really think it's where it's at. If I'm in sixth form and want to get into real estate straight after, what do? Use that time to start getting experience. Get experience. Literally, experience is your strength, and start doing your market research, get your knowledge up, read the news, check what's going on in the property market. Knowledge and experience is power. Thank you so much for calling. I hope you found that useful with all my tips and gems, and I'll speak to you guys later, yeah, because I gotta pop off now, and we'll speak soon.